Today's guest, Kerry Weinrauch, is a TV and film costume designer with over 20 years of professional experience. Most recently, she worked on CBS and Paramount Plus's Watson, starring Morris Chestnut. Previously, she also worked on over 170 episodes of Supernatural, season 2 and 3 of Nancy Drew, 2 seasons of the reboot of Are You Afraid of the Dark? She was also just nominated for a CAF Cat Award for her work on The Winchesters. Beyond TV, she was the costume designer for Rapture Palooza, starring Anna Kendrick, and Smokin' Aces to Assassin's Ball for Universal Pictures. This is just a snapshot of her work today. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. Welcome to the show, Kerry Weinrauch. Hey, Kerry.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for having me here.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Carrie, I always like going back and hearing from our guests on either your parents or guardians, like what did they do for a job as you were growing up, and what was life like for you as a kid, or what were you like personally as a kid?
I knew from like 12 that I wanted to be a fashion designer, wanted to go to fashion design school. And my parents were much more practical. So kind of swinging them around, but so I was always creative, always artsy. And so really for me, there was really no question which direction I was going. My dad wanted me to become an accountant. It was just,
Which is
which I
important
did for a
too.
while.
Well, and accounting is pretty important in what you do also to kind of
It
know
is, it is.
numbers
I mean, I
and
did my mom comes from a very big family.
yeah.
She had seven brothers and sisters. And so, strangely enough, most of the women in her family were accountants or bookkeepers and stuff. So, that's what I did for part-time while I went to school. So, yeah, I had a
Wow.
job as a junior accountant for a while with another place too.
Oh, that's funny. How now, why did you know, or how did you know, or what was your influence on knowing at the age of 12 that you were going to get into fashion one way or another?
I think it was just this visceral love for it.
Mm.
Like, even at that age, my Nana taught me how to sew. My Nana was a sewer, and she used to make me my Barbie dresses. And so we would design Barbie clothes that were not, out of the box and like super cool,
Yeah.
different dresses and things. So that's kind of where it started. And then I just was always just immersed myself in fashion, was always interested in it, like fashion magazines, and would create my own clothes. I would recreate things that I'd see in fashion magazines. Because of course, I grew up in Ladner, which is a small town outside of Vancouver. You couldn't get that stuff in Vancouver back then. So I just created.
I love Vancouver. I've been there once and it's beautiful.
It's pretty. It is. I mean, you've got the mountains and the sea and kind of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the right time of year you can go skiing and, be out on the water the same day.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, so it's fascinating to me that age 12 you knew, because sometimes you can talk to an adult and they're like, wait, I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know that was a thing. So to have a 12-year-old go, oh no, it's a thing and I'm doing it is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so from there, now you did go to fashion school. So do you want to
I
talk to us a little bit about that from age 12 to getting to fashion school?
my mom's British, and so I really wanted to go to Central St. Martin's, of course. And then I couldn't afford it because I was paying my own way to school and all that
Okay.
kind of thing. So I think I got into Ryerson, but I couldn't afford to go to Toronto either. So, because I had to live at home, there's no way I could afford to actually go to school and do everything. So, I went to Kwantlen Polytechnical University. Right then, it was called Kwantlen College in Richmond, just outside of my hometown. And it was intense. It was busy, like Italian tailors that would teach us how to sew and how to draft and they were just it was intense.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It's like I learned so much. Um, then after that, I went into designing at a children's clothing company. But we were talking about accounting before. I actually went in as a junior accountant and they wanted me to become an accountant there. But I only went there to get into their design department.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, and then I
Children's
ended up getting
clothing
the,
company. What
pardon
children's
me?
what children's
It
clothing?
was called it's called Please Mom. It's now gone.
Okay.
But they did, cute stuff. And I was brought in to do their older kids, like from like 14-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
So I did that for years. Then I wanted to do my own clothing line, of course, and realized that that was really expensive. And to the amount of units you'd have to sell to actually make money is insane.
Yeah.
And then I fell into styling for commercials, editorials, music videos, like band promo shoots and stuff. And then from there, it was like into indie films, and then, gradually worked my way up into full-time film and TV.
That's great. Okay, so talk to us about that first film that you uh
Oh my gosh, the first film I did, I had no idea what I was doing. I really had never seen a day out of days before, which is, what tells you when actors play, what days they play, when they start. Nobody had ever taught me about paperwork. And it was seriously just learning as I went. I mean, I feel like working in commercials, it's so fast and quick, and it's one of those sink or swim kind of industries.
yeah.
Um, that really, it kind of trains you into just like being quick on your feet and like making quick decisions and doing it. But I analyzed that script so hard. Like it was so much fun, and just dealing with like characters and building characters, and being that visual storyteller that's part of the film process was
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah. Now, okay, so I actually really admire that you were on your first film and you're like, I don't even know how to read a call sheet. So,
No,
did you have somebody at that point? And I think this is a really important trait to develop. So, I
yeah.
love hearing that you have it. Like, did you have somebody that you were like a mentor that you could call back? Or did you just ask like the first AD or something
No,
like that?
well,
Like, how did that work out for you as far as figuring it
I
out?
kind of flew by the seat of my pants and just worked it out in my head.
Okay.
Like I just figured it out looking at all, because people would come up and ask me a question and I'd be the kind of deer in headlights. Like,
Right.
but being an indie film, a lot of people, it's a lot more greener too.
Yeah.
So it was great. And then I think like somebody in another department, was like, oh, that's what that means. And you're like, okay, cool.
When I was in grad school, our costume shop supervisor, he loved Supernatural.
Okay.
And he was like, Catherine, have you seen it? And I said, no, I haven't seen Supernatural. And he was like, I've got the box set. You have to watch all of them. That's a great, actually, impersonation of him. Um, I love him. We're still good friends. And so he gave me the box set of
Yeah.
Supernatural. And that is an intense series. It's like fun, it's quirky, but then it's also like
It's got
intense
so many different
visually.
layers and dimensions
It
to it.
it really does. So I have to, even though we are absolutely going to get to Watson, we're going to talk Watson. We need to talk Supernatural because also you did over 170 episodes. So
I
talk
did
to
eight
us about what
seasons
that
of
was
that
like.
show. Yeah, I was actually about to move to Europe because I had a son young and he'd moved out. I'm like, okay, it's my, I've always wanted to move because, I have European citizenship. My mom's British and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I was ready to do it. Then I got the call for Supernatural and I was like, wow, okay. And it was amazing. It was a really cool show because it's just like everybody's like, oh, it's just these two dudes with a car and like wearing flannel shirts and stuff. It's like there's gods and deities, there's all this religious symbolism and like, witches and like just folklore. It was really, really I think it was a really smart show, and people who get it. And
Yeah.
there was just such a huge following for the show. It was pretty amazing. And both Jared and Jensen were such sweethearts. Like really, it was so great. It was working with a family, especially when you work with people for 8 years. It was really, really nice. And then when COVID started, we only had like an episode and a half to go when we got shut down. I
Mm.
think we were the first show to decide to stop in Vancouver. And yeah, it was crazy. And then we just came back and finished it. But it was like with all the new COVID rules and things, it's like I'd already started Nancy Drew. Like one, I managed to finish prepping Supernatural.
Mm.
Then I had to go on to Nancy Drew because of the strike, or sorry, because of the COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
All my start dates got pushed around, so I was supposed to finish Supernatural and go to Nancy Drew, but then they ended up landing on top of each other. And because of COVID, you couldn't do two places at once.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I had to finish Supernatural, and then I couldn't go to set to go see like the final last day of shooting because everybody was concerned about, cross contamination, like just
Right.
people coming from different places. But so
Well, and that was the last year, right? That's what you're saying was the
that
last.
was the final episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, in
Okay.
2020.
So do you remember from the series, do you remember what one of your favorite challenges in your designs for that show would have been? Like just one of them. It doesn't have to be the.
I can't remember the name of the creature. It's when they were in the apocalypse world.
Okay.
It was like these monsters that crawled on all fours, and it was like actual stunt people doing it. Um, I just remember trying, it was just the logistics of trying to figure that costume out because the way their feet and arms needed to be wrapped so that they could visifex, so they looked a certain way because it was intense. And I remember it was like, on Friday night, 9 o'clock, and like you get a phone call from a producer going, I think I'd like the feet to be different. And like they're play Monday, and you're like, oh my God. Back to the studio I go tomorrow, you know.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then yeah, and then you bring your builders in and you just but also with some people you've got to be practical because they've got to be able to move. And so you have to be able to create something that works for like the director visually, works for the stunts, works for special effects or the vis effects when they're switching it over. So it was just
A lot of layers
a
to.
lot, a lot, a lot. Yeah. And I remember just those characters who were just like, please, please just shoot it. Because once they start shooting,
Well, I'm sure fans listening will be
they'll
they'll be
be like,
excited
I
to
know what
hear
the
about that.
character was.
Yeah, they'll be excited to hear about that. Okay, so you're the costume designer for Paramount Plus's Watson,
Yes.
and Watson is played by Morris Chestnut, like we said
Yes.
earlier. Now I like it. I like this. It's not a reboot, but this like revisiting of, we'll say, of these beloved characters that have been around for so long. Yet this one has a different spin,
It does.
because this is, and this is not a spoiler. You people can find this, but because this is after Holmes has passed, and then it's a year later, and Watson is has his own like.
Running the Holmes Clinic. Yes.
Yes, his own clinic that he's running,
Yeah.
and has a team of people. So, with that set up, talk to us about this team that he has of all of these like the world's best doctors working for him and the twins. So, talk to us a
Yeah.
little bit about finding all of their looks.
Well, Morris to start is an absolute dream to work with. He is the most kindest, gracious human being that one of them I've ever met in my life. He is just kind and thoughtful and just like so great at his craft. And just a pleasure to dress. I mean, and also he himself, like we really wanted Watson to stand out and be a different Watson than anything else we'd ever seen before. And because it's, a medical procedural plus it's a detective show, we wanted it to look different than any other detective or medical show that we'd ever seen before. So with Morris, I mean, he is not scared of color. He's not scared of like bold style choices. I mean, he does that in his own regular dressing too, but it was really great having an actor that was that fearless as far as choices we could make for him. Like I feel like we could have even pushed it even brighter colors, but of course, first little bit you're kind of seeing where where the cards lay and all that kind of thing. Um, Ingrid was really fun to dress because her character is just such a blank slate. Like you really don't know what's going on with her. And so in the beginning, it's like we'd board one thing, then we'd board another, and it's like then you find out who the actor is, then you're like, oh, well, that doesn't really suit that person, aesthetically. And it really, I make the boards for myself, then I present them to like showrunners, EPs, and all that, and then there's approvals back and forth. Then it ends up because it was a new series, it ends up going up to Studio Network and also for approvals. And then, of course, I have conversations with the actors themselves too, because I want to hear about what their take is of how what they feel their character is and what their character does and who their character is at its core. It's like what their hobbies are. Um, and Eve, who plays Ingrid, she was just so much fun. And we just went indie designer and went really funky because we feel like she's such a blank slate and that she wears her clothes kind of like an armor to present herself in a certain way to everybody. Like she wants everybody to perceive her the way she's dressed.
Yeah.
And Eve herself is just down for trying anything also. It's just like, and it was really great to dip into indie designers and support local boutiques. Like we did not go for chain stores or anything like that. It was really, really cool.
Where all did you go for her? Like city wise, what cities did you shop for?
I shopped in Vancouver. We
Okay.
shopped at one of a few, the Block, Gravity Pope were kind of some of our big ones. Adam and Stevens were very interesting, trying to create their looks because it was the same actor playing two different roles. And so we really had to make strong decisions visually to separate the two. Um, but it's like, once again, I talked to Peter, the actor, and we talked about like what hobbies each twin would have, what kind of music they would listen to, what their apartment would be like. For Adam, he was much more of a laid back, kind of free spirited, like indie music vibe. And then for Stevens, we did much more uptight and cynical and like closed off, and just leaned into a more practical way of dressing.
I was going to say I like that for the two of them. The collaboration between you and the hair and makeup that you could also see.
Yes, I mean it was really because they changed his hair completely between the two. And Peter especially, even in fittings, he would stand differently when he was Stevens for a photo to when he was Adam. And it was really interesting. He like literally became different people in front of you,
Yeah,
just like with his mannerisms and the way he stood and just the way he acted and stuff and the way he like even held his head. Like it was really, really cool to watch.
yeah, that's neat.
Who else? And then there was Inga, who plays, oh my God, why am I completely Sasha? She's supposed to be a Southern belle. She's supposed to be from Texas, an adopted girl from China. And she was really, really interesting because we really got to go with kind of classic silhouettes, like leaning into like the Audrey Hepburn Breakfast at Tiffany's kind of silhouettes. And she's the one that got like the prints and the color and the ladylike and all that kind of thing. And she was great. She really leaned into it. She was a beauty queen in New York when she was
Oh,
young.
in real life, nice.
Yeah, real life. So she was perfect for this, the kind of debutante thing.
Yeah.
And Shinwell, who's, always around, Richie was such a dream, and his personal dressing style is so dope. Like he really kind of encapsulates it. And when I spoke to him in the beginning about his character, he's like, I've done some boards up. Can I send them to you? And I'm like, of course. And what was crazy is his boards and my boards, we had some of the same pictures on there. So we were really completely on the same track. And the shopper that was buying for him for Shinwell was sourcing out of England. Like we really want it to be authentic.
Yeah.
And we found these companies that recreated things that look like they were from like the turn of the century and from the 30s and all that kind of thing. And so it was fantastic. And Richie himself, it's like with his handkerchiefs around his neck and his hats and everything. It was very thought out. It wasn't just, okay, we'll just use this one because we're in this color. It's like, what's going on? Is he in his green handkerchief? Is he in his red handkerchief? Like which hat, which way is it going to be tilted? It's all those little nuances are just like, they're much more thought through than I think people realize when they're watching something. But also when people watching, I really want them to not think about the costumes and feel like these people just put those clothes on that day,
Right.
and keep it believable and authentic and sincere.
Yeah. I like his costumes feel like, and I don't know if this was an intentional move or not, but it feels like a little bit of a hearkening back to like the time period of the original Sherlock Holmes, like just a
It
little
was
nod.
because we'd kind of gone new and fresh with Watson. We really wanted to kind of cement the Holmes like canon, iconography
Yeah,
in Shinwell's. We really, because he used to be Sherlock's assistant before he was Watson's.
yeah,
So we really kind of went into that, into those nice tweedies and wools and just like the nice, squishy fabrics. And really that was our fallback to or callback to Sherlock.
yeah. That's great. And was there anything in particular about this show so far that was a new challenge for you? Because you have such an extensive resume, we'll call it, like
Yeah.
this body of work that you've done over 2 decades. Do you, was there anything on this one that you're like, oh, that's a fun new challenge that was a fun surprise for you?
I mean, I loved it because starting a show from the ground up is really kind of the big challenge. It's getting all the approvals. It's because you're dealing with, like I said, with network and studio, and it's just like, and having to bring it to mind like the writers, the showrunners, the EPs, like everybody's visions and collaborating with it. And so it's not really a challenge, just so busy getting there in the first place. Cause then it's like you bring actors in, you've got camera tests, and it's like, and the actors always come in with little time before they before you start shooting. Excuse me. And then you go into like I said, camera tests, and there's gallery shoots, and you're just scrambling to get things altered, sizes changed, and all these, different colors or multiples or whatever. And then getting your approvals from so many different levels too. It's great, but it's really the challenge is the crush at the very end. Because
Yeah,
you have all this time, where you're really busy, but pre-prepping and getting your visuals and like mapping out how you want a show to look. And then when you're pulling out all the ends together at the very end, it's insane. But it's kind of what we do it for.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you get to select your team, or did they hire?
Oh, yeah. I've been working with most of my team for at least 10 years.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. We're like a family. And what I do, especially like with shoppers, is they follow their own character. So the person that was shopping Watson shopped him the entire season. And then they would come in on fittings with us and like have just be in the discussions. And that way it's really a collaboration because a costume designer may have like the vision, work on the vision with everybody else, but the entire team makes it happen.
Yeah.
It's not just one person. Um, and it's like everybody's just like they were so thoughtful about the characters. Like I said, like one of the girls, um, sourcing everything from England, like she would just come up with these beautiful pieces that look like they were 100 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, where are you finding this? Like, and then like the shoppers that would do like excuse me, Sasha and Ingrid and Mary. It was just the one girl did the three of them too. So one kind of did the
Okay.
guys and the other one did the girls. But they both like there's just so thoughtful about it. Like it's like they really, really put their time and energy and they're just watching what's coming into stores because we want it to be, especially with Ingrid, we want it to be hip and just kind of street style and just something really new that you don't really see on television. So we're really keeping an eye on what indie designers were doing what and what was coming into stores. And also it's like you end up shopping in the summer, but the show is supposed to be it's airing in January. And so they want it to kind of like coincide with what is going on outside. So it's like trying to find the coats and all that kind of stuff in deep summer is really always challenging.
It's almost a little, it sounds like you almost did a little bit of a fashion forecasting almost like,
You do have to. I mean, because it's also, we think about the fact that the show isn't going to be aired right away, too. So we may have been shopping it like last June. So it's like, what's going to look good next February and March when the show starts airing?
yeah,
So, and I realize, it's fashion is kind of incrementally. So, of course, we watch what happens like on runways, but then that's a trickle down effect. But it's also seeing what's going on streets. It's like, I look more at street fashion myself online. than I do runway shows or even watching influencers.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like things trickle like down from runway into the streets, and then you got everybody's different versions of things. And it's so eclectic and interesting how people themselves put their clothes together. So I always watch people and sometimes take pictures of them. Just because sometimes you cannot recreate what people do themselves. Like there's no way I could come up with that.
Right. How did you get on the show, Watson? Like, how did you was it what was this phone call like?
So Nancy Drew, I was on Nancy Drew because the person who got me into like film and TV was this woman named Lily Hugh, who has kind of been my mentor my career. Like that was in 2005.
Okay.
So she got me onto Nancy Drew, and on Nancy Drew, I met Larry Tang. And Larry was one of the executive producers. And so he'd called me last December, a year ago, December, saying that he had this new show coming up. He wanted me to interview. And then I ended up interviewing with Craig Sweeney and Brian Morowitz. And I called it my dissertation because I spent about a week putting this together, and I went through the home stuff, and it's just like, and then comparing it. And then it's just like, especially in an interview process, it's like I dive deep, and I just like go and research and just like go down all these rabbit holes, because I feel like the more background you get about something and you're kind of presenting, if you've got kind of your theories behind why your vision is what it is, it's just a little bit more convincing.
Do you ever say no to design opportunity, like waiting for the project you really want to work on, or do you say yes to everything?
No, yes, you have to say no sometimes. I think it's also important. It's like what things we were just coming out of the strike right then too.
Mhm.
And so there was things that came up, but I knew Watson was coming, and I was so excited to do it. Like I did say no to because I wanted to do Watson really badly. I love working with Larry, and like he's so great, and the writing on the show was amazing, and I loved the whole idea about this new take on Watson.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, I think it's important to really be sincere about what you're working on. Because if you don't love something and you're not passionate about it, I think, it's like nobody wants anybody phoning stuff in, especially like, create a position like that. And there's so many people who are passionate about their projects. Nobody wants anybody's going to fake it. And I would never fake it. But there's, certain, like, it's more subject matter and things like that, that you're just not really in line with.
Yeah.
Like I know years ago, there was a John Wayne Gacy bio movie, and I was hired. I got the rest of the script, went home and read it. And my son was like 12, 13 at the time. And after I read the script, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Like it was just too creepy. There's
Yeah.
no way I was dressing young boys, and you know what I mean, that were the
Yeah.
same age as my son. It
No.
was hard no.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really great point. To consider like content and what you want to, because what you want to be around and what you
Yeah.
want to like have in I don't know if the word would be influence, but just have you be around it and like absorbing this content
It it
every
it does.
single
I mean,
day. It's like, well, you
I'm
got
a
to
bit
be
of a
a little bit.
sponge, and I know it's like even on Supernatural, like some of their storylines were kind of creepy, apocalyptic world, and I'm like, I'm an intense dreamer, so I would have crazy dreams after reading scripts. Like
Yeah.
it was really interesting though, because when I was going into the interview with Supernatural, I mean, I was taking over, of course, so it wasn't so much of presenting it. I was, taking over. But my son was a huge fan of the show, so I was like, "Okay, kid, give me some cold Sinatra," because I hadn't watched it. Tried to like slam a bunch of episodes as quickly as I could before my
That'll
interview.
also mess up with your dreams if you like watch like
Yeah.
20 episodes before going to bed. You're like,
Oh, I know. I was like, the new season of Handmaid's Tale is coming out really soon. And so it's been so long since we've seen it. And that one, I'm in dystopian. It's heavy. It's not usually my genre.
Yeah, I
But
couldn't get through it because of the heaviness. Yeah,
I love Margaret Atwood. I mean, Canadian author. She's amazing. The first time I read that book was in school. Um, so I'm rewatching it right now, and it's like I'm
nice.
having weird dreams.
Are.
It
It's real. I mean, that kind of effect it has on your.
does. And so it's like, especially like we're to bring it back around, like when you're choosing your projects for work, um, it is important because it's like what you can, because you really physically take on that job, that you're all in for, 6, 8 months, depending on how long you're shooting.
Yeah,
And it's really, I feel like you have to be passionate about it and also be just aware about yourself and what your boundaries are.
that's
Yeah.
good. That's good advice. Um, okay. Um, before I want have one more question before we go into deep dive. And
Okay.
so I don't know if there's going to be anything there may not be, but was there any kind of tricky pivot that you had to do with Watson, with the series Watson?
Tricky pivot.
Something you weren't expecting kind of being thrown at you at the last minute and how
Not real with us, it was really getting cast, like, and which I'm sure is consistent with most shows because they go to casting when you're on an episodic. They start the casting, and then by the time the person they've cast may be on another production, might have another project going on, and so you may get them the day before. And then it's just like the speed you have to turn things over is really, it wasn't so much pivoting, it's just like there's so many when you're like, okay, this person can't fly in till Sunday. We've got to fit them that day. We've got to get approvals, make sure that I've got, the EP or something available so that, when I'm sending those photos through, they're getting approved right away and then sent up the ladder because we've got to get alterations and then they're on camera first thing the next morning.
yeah,
So that's the challenge really. But we're aware of that, going into this, world. It's exciting. It's just, it's like I feel like you have to be a certain type of person to be able to do film, though.
yeah,
I know I've got friends like I have no idea, like they're just like, but they also know like when it's, when I'm in a project, don't ask me to go for dinner on a Wednesday because I'm probably, even if I say yes, I probably won't make it.
Well, actually, I didn't even think about this until, I mean, think about asking you this question until you just now said that. But so you have a son. Was it tricky? I don't know if you have more children than just him or just him, but was it
I'm
tricky
just him.
being a mom and
In film.
juggling this kind of schedule?
I when I moved over to film, my mom, like I said, my mom has a really big family, and it's 5 sisters, 2 boys. 3 since have passed, but I moved into my aunt's basement suite. And so my other aunt lived down the street. My son's school was nearby. And it really, my family and my mom would take my son and my dad would take my son on weekends, just to help me out. But it was really leaning into family. And they really, and my aunt, whose suite I was living in, she was in fashion in England before she came over. So she was always excited about what I was doing and loved the whole process. And so it was essential, you know what I mean? It's, that whole, it takes a village, it takes a family to help, bring up a child.
That's really sweet. And I bet
Yeah.
he was able to make some really good memories with them too, which is important.
Yeah. I mean, he would come to set, he always, where's the craft service?
Right.
But like even on Supernatural, he came to set and it was really cute. Like they got him a director's chair and he was sitting with Jared,
That's
chatting and Jared's like, let's go back to my trailer and play some video games. Just like,
that's
yeah.
great. Okay, so I have a few deep dive questions for you.
Hi.
Um, what is a tough lesson you have learned in life? And it can be related to your particular field of work or just in life in general.
Okay, tough lesson, I think is you kind of get comfortable. The strike really threw everybody. Um, and as much as everybody tried to be prepared for that, after the strike, that was a big lesson as to pulling back
Hmm.
and looking at spending. And you and I were talking about clothes and things like that before we started. And pulling back on all that and really like what's important and really considering it. The strike really destroyed people's lives.
Yeah.
Like even in Vancouver, like it hasn't, the film industry hasn't gotten back to where it was. It's like people lost their houses. That was probably one of the hardest things, especially coming up like only a few years after COVID too. It's like people just kind of paid back, their debts from COVID. Then all of a sudden it was like, I was out for 13 months. Like that's a long time. I've got friends in the States who still haven't worked since the strike. So that was, yeah, it was like being prepared for any, like that kind of thing. You're just like really, yeah,
Yeah. That's a really good applicable lesson, tough lesson.
yeah.
Um, do you have any words of wisdom that come to you, like, or mantras that you either have heard that have meant something to you, or that you like sharing with others, or that you um, use in your shop?
For me, the big thing is kindness, to be quite honest. It's like with my crew and everything, everybody gets busy, everybody gets stressed, and it's just to treat people the way you want to be treated. Um, and it's like I'm very proud that I try and run a very uh inclusive, kind, thoughtful team and department because it's long hours. It's like people have their things going on in their lives, like on the sides too, and it's being very aware of that and making it like a family. And it's also, it's like I love film, and it's like we are not curing cancer, and it's like keeping 2 feet on the ground and understanding what you're doing and being practical, while still working hard, getting it done, making it look the best you can. But, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Um, is there anything that comes to mind that you would go back and tell that 12-year-old self?
Huh, that's interesting. I'm not quite sure. I think probably like you were right.
Good job.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah,
That's
I wanted to just be a fashion designer when I came out of design school. Like I was just like, film was just, punching up in Vancouver then. Like, no, I'm going to be a designer. And then it's like, started doing film. I'm like, wow, this is cool. I think it's also really important as a designer to mentor those coming up too. It's like I always run, especially like females. We got to lift the females up, and it's just like giving me a helping hand. It's like if I've got friends who've got like a daughter or a girlfriend, they're trying to get in the industry and they want some advice. It's like I always make time for that and try. Because we're unionized, you can't just bring somebody in. But it's just like I've made it I've helped get people into the union because it was just you saw their talent and you saw how great they were. And it's just people need to be mentored themselves.
yeah.
And so it's like I had some, great people giving me advice, coming up. And it's really we got to lift the ladies up and take care of each other.
Yeah, I was reading recently about how it's important to listen to, because we also have two kids, and how it's important to listen to their heart and what they already are kind of
Where
gravitating
they're
toward.
leaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just shoot them down and be like, how could you possibly know you want to be a teacher or a scientist or a
Exactly. And
whatever
I
one
think
day?
I battled with that. Like my dad is very straightforward. You know what I mean? Like no messing around. He's just like, and he was like, "You're not going to go anywhere in the arts. You're not going to make any money on it. Like just go do." Like he's so practical, and I was just dug my feet in. um, but it was like, and then when I think back to it, it's like I also do photography, and it's like I realized I always had a camera. You know what I mean? Even as a little kid, like I had like a little 110 and then it was Polaroids, then it was this. But even back then, I was always drawing pictures of clothes. Like it's just, like I said, starting with my Nana with the Barbie clothes, it's like I would draw those clothes out, in my little 6, 7-year-old way, and she
Yeah,
would reproduce them
that's
and I
so
would help her.
cool.
Like, so I feel like this is just like it's been ingrained in me from a very young time, but I think it's important to listen to kids and not, like you say, like just poo-poo their ideas and their dreams because you just never know. And also, I really feel like kids' creativity needs to be nurtured. It's
Yeah.
like there's not enough art in schools and things. Like it's all like, your math, your sciences, your this. It's like kids' creative hearts need to be nurtured and, just
Yeah.
I think, art day, like being like we were talking about before, like being out in nature, like, taking a kid out on a hike with a sketch pad and a pencil, I think, you know what I mean, is like a perfect thing. But then you also don't want to force it on them. It's like my son was a great painter. He came from a line of painters on his dad's side.
Mm.
And he's quite good, but he refuses to do it. He doesn't want to. He's not interested whatsoever. And I'm like, you're crushing my heart.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I said that is very fascinating to have like your son be gifted in something, but then have no.
He's just not interested. He doesn't think that he's like, no, I'm not that great. But he's a Taurus. He'll kill me if I actually he hates horoscopes and all that. Sorry, Kate. But he is. He's a stubborn Taurus.
Okay, so I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Um, is there a movie that you can watch over and over again?
Yes.
And don't judge yourself. It can be ridiculous or it can be like lofty and don't
Henry
judge
and
yourself.
June. It's about Henry Miller and Anais Nin.
Wait,
It's
Harry and June?
Henry and June.
Henry and June. Okay. I
I think I have it on DVD still because you can't find it anywhere.
was gonna say I don't know that one.
Yeah, I think it came out like in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Uma Thurman's in it. Like it's brilliant. I love it, but it's just as you can tell with my books, I'm an avid reader, and like I've always loved Henry
Okay.
Miller's work and Anais Nin's.
So I'm gonna ask you, do you have a book you really enjoy, or a book that you would suggest others read, or a book that you were like, if I read this multiple times, I'd be fine with it?
Patti Smith, Just Kids. I
Okay.
love Patti Smith and Just Kids about her and Robert Mapplethorpe is I've seriously reread it 4 times. When I first got it, I was so excited to get home from work to just read a little bit more before I went to sleep. It is such a beautiful, beautiful book.
Okay, I'll
Uh,
put that on the list.
yeah, it's spectacular.
Okay. Okay, you are a traveler. So, is there a favorite place you have been to that you suggest others visit?
Well, Paris, of course, because it's just the best. Marrakesh and Essaouira in Morocco. Morocco is a beautiful, beautiful country. Um,
I'd love to go to Morocco one day.
it was I was so tired getting off the plane because we'd come in from London at an early flight. We were already jet lagged because we'd just gotten there and left the next morning. And I just remember getting to the Medina and all the colors and the smells, and it's just so beautiful. And then you're like on the roof of your riad, and the call to prayer comes up, and it's just and birds just start going. It was so beautiful there.
Were you
I
there
would
for work or vacation?
vacation.
Vacation. Nice.
I've been there twice now. I'd go again in a hot second. Like it is beautiful. And Essaouira is a coastal town in Morocco that is just it's stunningly beautiful.
Do you have a what's next, or are you allowed to talk about it if you do have one?
I mean, I don't know. We're waiting to find out about Watson right now.
Okay.
But of course, we have to, be practical and keep our ears to the ground to see what else is going on. It is getting busier here right now, so, but I have my Irish citizenship as well because grandma's Irish, so I really want to work in Europe.
Yeah.
That's kind of my long range plan right now is I'd like to work abroad.
This actually makes me think of a question about Watson really quick. Since you're not sure, since the word is not out yet on a season
Yeah.
two, is everything in like a holding
Yep.
from season one?
Everything is,
Okay.
doors got shut, stages are all there. Like they virtually, you take your rentals back and they shut the doors and wait.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But that happens with most shows,
Yeah.
especially with the first season, because you just never know. I mean, I think I think the show's fantastic. I think it's really smart. I think it looks great.
Right.
Um, I think it would be silly for it not to come back. And I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think Morris Chestnut as Watson is a really great choice.
Yeah.
It's just different and exciting. And he's just so great. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
One of our challenges that we had on the show was Morris he'd get bigger. He's like, but I'm not working out. I'm only doing 300 push-ups a day right now.
Three.
I know. So we were like, so that wasn't working out to him. If he wasn't going to the gym, that wasn't working out. And so
Oh my-
he would get so big. And I'd talked to the designer from the show he was on before this one, just about his sizing and colors. She's like, you need to keep multiple sizes for him because if he starts working out, like he's going to start Incredible Hulking the shirts. So it would be like, one day and then the next day, like my set super college set, we need bigger shirts for Morris. Like it was,
Wow.
yeah.
That's good genes to be able to produce the muscle that quickly.
But
Yeah.
I mean, the man, he's seriously, he's envision of health. He's like, he just works out. He's just, yeah, it's crazy. Now he was also doing, is it 300 sit-ups or push-ups and 300 squats? And that isn't working out to him.
No. That's taking a break.
It is. That's like being easy on himself. So we were just that. So that was like one of the challenges. It's like, okay, what size are you going to be in today?
That's good. Kerry, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Feel free to come back anytime and
Sounds great.
look forward to seeing what you have next. And hopefully Watson will be around for two.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Voice of Costume. Check out voiceofcostume.com to learn more, see upcoming guests, and be a part of our growing community.